Christmas Unwrapped. And didn't play enough there, but you know, I'd like to play a little bit more. We never got to the fourth section, which would be in that Advent season, which is now, actually goes from Halloween to the Super Bowl. What is it? 40% of goods are retailed in that period. The date was Thanksgiving was fixed so that there would be four shopping weeks before Christmas. The whole thing is a festival of consumption now. What better time to have wall to wall, back to back church suppers, gatherings, religious education, just fun, dramatics, and so forth, and be an alternative society with an alternative story, with an alternative set of values, and we'd be then us Lutherans, for whom the incarnation is very important. We'd be then embodying, and people can't do it alone. People can't do it alone. You need to reinforce each other in a community. You need to have an alternative set of stories, an alternative set of culture. Now that's just one of my favorite things to push, especially in churches. But let's now get into let's go to gospel and what we do with gospel, including the question of whether we're privileging or giving preference to the context, to the historical context. Let's just start with, I'm tempted to start with, just the text. How many of you have ever sat down and read a whole gospel through fast? Quite a few. Have any of you ever been to a performance?
What do you mean?
A performance of someone performing the Gospel of Mark? Yeah. And where?
Well, in Australia, it's very, very common. A number of people go around and actually just do a exemplary. Well, they sort of don't rehearse, but they will actually give you the whole gospel or a number of chapters. So yes, there's different ways of doing it. But
Or a videotape of David Rhodes or Joanna Dewey or whoever else is doing this. Okay, drama person, we need your help a little bit.
I saw the cotton patch version one time.
The what?
The cotton patch version?
Well, here.
Cotton patch version.
Cotton patch.
Cotton patch version. Yeah, gotcha. Anybody know what cotton patch version is? Just quickly tell us.
Oh, it's from the South, right? And it's who's the guy that wrote the gospel?
Yeah, I forget it.
It's a performance of Clarence Jordan.
Yeah.
A performance of his writing of the gospel.
Colloquial down home.
Yeah.
Okay, let's think of it. One of the things that Chet said this, in passing, that sometimes the biblical text, in this case, I think the gospel text, can do some of our heavy lifting for us. See, so you don't have to talk empire. We can start by, let's just read the gospel, or better yet, let's hear the gospel. And this is something that's been very widespread in the U.S. And last night at supper we were talking about this, less so in the UK. I don't know about Norway and Australia and Philippines or whatever, but I guess it was dissatisfaction with all those heavy German scholars and word studies. So a bunch of my contemporaries said, let's just read the story. And so they started reading the story, and then they remembered back to Literature 101. Right? Oh yeah, Literature 101, setting, characters, plot, makes sense. Look, simple things you look for. And they started doing that, but it was still sort of, being read as a text at a modern short story level. Well, let's play be a little more sophisticated about this. Chapter and verse. Were those in the original gospel? No way. King James, I don't know where, in the German or the Swedish or Norwegian Bible, when did those come in? Did the Luther people, the Luther Bible, have chapter and verse? I suspect it did.
Luther should know.
Yeah, I should know. I was even studying in Germany for a year. I should know this. I've got one on the shelf. But certainly King James does, right? And certainly that's been the classic English Bible, what we've been raised and bred on. And in American culture, anyhow, I don't know about Norwegian and elsewhere, we've learned to do the Bible by chapter and verse as proof texts. And in biblical study, right? All of that stuff. And what do historical Jesus scholars do? My dear friends John Dominic Crossan and Marcus Ward, and what do? Saying, individual sayings, you know, put them up here as little nuggets of wisdom and so forth and so on. That's not the gospel. They're treating the gospel as if it's a container of little sayings.
When did the Jewish Bible break it into that?
Yeah.
When?
I don't know. I don't know when.
I don't know. I mean, is there a traditional Bible that has not done that?
Well, see, the Hebrew Bible wouldn't even have had any markings at all. Same as the Christian scriptures in ancient times. They were printed without any break.
There's none of that break.
Not even a break in the words. If you try to pick up a Greek manuscript, you can't read it unless you already know it. By the way, remember that one. You can't read it unless you already know it. Hang on to that one. We're coming back to that. Okay, so first thing I want us to do, and I did this in my classes, you know, years ago, got secretary to type up the Gospel of Mark, leaving out chapter and verse. So we just had a short story, you know, ran it off kind of like a flyer, and you know, go home and read that. Now, better yet, see, would be to get a videotape or to get somebody to perform it. Now, can I go another step with this? Get somebody to perform it. Had a couple Zulu students from South Africa in those classes at Harvard, along with the Philippines and the Burmese and so forth. And they've been through theological school already, a Methodist minister and a Catholic priest. And they've gotten a good European-style theological education. And as far as they were concerned, the Gospel of Mark and other biblical texts were European colonial texts, right? It's exactly what they were, European colonial texts. About halfway through the course, all of a sudden scales fall from their eyes and say, wait a minute, this is ours. It's not yours, not you Europeans, it's ours. This text is written for us South Africans, for us Zulus. Man, who was talking about Central America? Did somebody mention gospel and Swanzanami? Yeah, that's what happened with that, the reading of the Bible among campesinos. It's theirs. Yeah, the Boulder in Bethlehem, the Christmas story. And so they'd read the Christmas story, sorry about this, and they'd say, they would say, Somoza is Herod, yeah, and Caesar is the U.S.